Did you know that Foundry can simulate full 3D environments? Okay, slight clickbait. It's not entirely 3D graphics, but it's the closest we can get without a 3D graphics engine. I'm always being asked how I make my Foundry do all these clever things. So this is 5 of what I would consider essential Foundry modules for making the most out of the program. I'm Extragalactic Unicorn. Let's get into it. Okay, I'll get the big exciting pseudo 3D module out of the way first. The first module that is up is called Levels. In short, Levels allows you to separate different tiles on the game grid into different layers based on token height. This basically means you can create something like a 6-story building and it can be all on the same game grid. And because all of the tiles are stacked on top of each other, measuring AoE effects and doing a combat between floors is actually really easy. Players can step on designated stairs or elevator tiles and they can freely transfer between floors. It all looks really quite seamless from their perspective. I will say though, there is a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to building maps using this module. Once you're over the curve though, I really don't think you'll be going back. I also really can't stress enough how much of a quality of life improvement this is when it comes to building dynamic environments with multiple levels. Having several different maps for different floors of a house really just feels archaic. And come on, dragging your players through the fog of war to another bit of the map because it's all on the same sheet, that's just Stone Age stuff. We can do so much better. I'm usually the biggest cynic in the room, but this module is the thing that sold me on Foundry. So I'd easily say it is one of the most essential upgrades to your Foundry that you could get. Next is Combat Booster, Turn Marker, Recent Actions, and more. Are your players always forgetting when it's their turn? Well, this particular module actually sends them a notification when it's about to be their turn, so they need to wake up or get off their phone or something. It also gives tokens a visual indicator when it's that particular given character's turn or when it's going to be their turn next. I actually kind of forget a lot of the time that this module exists because it feels like it's doing a lot of stuff that Foundry should be doing by default. The audio notifications alone makes it kind of feel like you're playing Baldur's Gate rather than you're just gathered around a VTT. It also adds quick slots to tokens, which allows you to access buttons within their character sheet just from their token menu rather than going into the character sheet. Hands down an essential module for just adding that extra little bit of utility to Foundry, which I would sorely miss if I did not have this module installed all the time. Spot number 3 is Forien's quest log. More modern tabletop RPG players really struggle with note-taking a lot of the time, or remembering what's going on, or remembering what they need to be doing, or at least every single little detail of what they need to be doing. And that's really no fault of their own, these kinds of skills grow with time. However, it's very likely that these people are also gamers, and gamers are very used to RPGs having something like a quest log to allow them to keep track of all the different plot threads. I don't really think this is a replacement for the notepad.txt document that I keep all of my notes in when I'm being a player, nor do I think it's necessarily a replacement for the DM's own notes, or the lack of DM's own notes if you're my kind of style of DM. As a joke, by the way, as a DM, I actually take loads of notes. It's just that they're all a bit all over the place. It's an encryption mechanism, I swear. It is an easy way, however, of reminding your players what they should be doing. It groups up all of your major plot threads and all of your quests into a format which is very digestible. I also kind of feel like it's a really good adventure design aid, honestly. I can really easily see this being used by storytellers or by dungeon masters to understand the major crossroads points of a particular major plot, or to understand the key objectives of a given quest. At the end of the day, it's a quick reference guide, and that can be really handy in a pinch mid-session. Integrate it with a start screen and a clickable button somewhere in the Foundry interface, and you have a very immersive way for the players to keep track of everything that they're doing within the actual VTT itself. This is definitely one of those modules which is really good on both sides of the table for keeping track of larger sandboxy kind of games. The next one on the list is Monk's Active Tile Triggers. Very simply, what this does is it lets you run some sort of script or allows you to perform some sort of function when something happens to an individual tile. Okay, that kind of sounds dry and technical, so let's give you some examples. You can make a trigger which reveals a bunch of enemies when a player walks on a particular tile. You can make a pressure plate. When a player walks on a particular tile, you could trigger a door to open. You can even make a teleporter. I actually don't think this is where the real power from this module comes from, though. I think the real power is that you can create clickable and also interactable buttons for your players. It's actually one step closer to creating a fully fledged UI within Foundry that's working without actually using any of the UI that Foundry already gives you. Now, why would I get excited about that, I hear you ask? Well, it kind of allows you to create your own custom little landing page for your campaign, which allows your players to click on a couple of buttons and then show stuff like character sheets, quests, logs, or whatever gizmos you want to show them. It's not a module that I use very often, but it is a very powerful tool in the right hands, and it unlocks a lot of possibilities for you. The final module I'll mention is FX Master. FX Master adds weather and particle effects to Foundry. It also allows you to apply filters on the lighting and create a very dynamic and interesting atmosphere for your maps. This is definitely one where I think it's better to show you rather than just tell you what it does, so I'm going to throw up a bunch of different little effects which I've managed to generate using this module. It's ultimately just visual flair, but it really helps give your players that feeling that they're getting a more of a premium experience rather than the DMs just, tossing down a battle map with no real kind of lighting or anything interesting to look at. I mean, come on, what's the difference between a villain and a supervillain? Presentation, am I right? The other little gem with this module is it allows you to have clickable and also animated tile events. So imagine a tile which is a jet of fire, which is shooting at the players, well, you can now make that. Finally, I think a honorable mention to Token Magic FX. It doesn't do an awful lot, but what it does do is it adds a whole library of little animated token effects which you can apply to tokens. So if you ever wanted to, actually set your players' tokens on fire because they got themselves set on fire, well, now you can do that, you weird sadist person. And there you go, that is my list of essential little add-ons for Foundry. What do you think? If you feel I've missed a module which you think is more essential, or if you have any questions about one of the modules or add-ons that I've mentioned, then please feel free to leave a comment. I actually love learning about and talking about Foundry because it is without a doubt my favorite VTT, so I'd very much appreciate it. If you found this helpful, then please feel free to leave a like. I really like helping people make their tabletop RPG experience the best it can be, so if you want more tabletop RPG advice, then feel free to subscribe. For now though, that's all from me. Take care and cheerio.